Yo, what is going on, guys? J.Yumeko here, and today we're back with some more of The Shell, Part 1, Inferno. Last time we left off, what did we do? I don't know. Let's just load into the game. Let's see what happened. Oh yeah, well I remember a little bit of this. Actually, I think we had a fair number of options that popped up. A lot more than we've had thus far. So I think a lot of this was just kind of looking into some more leads. I think we got freaky with Natsume. We had a couple of scenes with Orihime, kind of getting to know her character a little bit better. But yeah, I think right now, I want to say our primary lead is with what do you say, the black egg situation. We're still kind of following that as our primary. So oh yeah, I think also we finally theorized that the dismembered body that we first found was actually a amalgamation of a number of different victims' body parts, which I would like to say I predicted that. Okay, anyways, what's up, Suzuriko, Tojiko? I lumbered into the living room after waking up and found Tojiko the invader lounging on the couch with a newspaper in hand.
何か気になる記事はあるか?
見当たらないね。殺しも強盗もない平和な一日だったみたいだよ。
二人とも早く朝ごはん食べて学院へ行きますよ。
The three of us ended up walking to school together.
先生は車持ってたりしないの？
兄さんの稼ぎでは持てるはずありませんよね。
軽自動車のスズライトだって40万はするんだぞ。どこにそんな金があるんだ？
400,000 yen? Jeez. I mean, I guess this would technically be a time when that's kind of like when cars are like still really expensive comparatively, especially in Japan, I'd imagine, right?
だって車があれば通学だって楽になるでしょ。
自分で買えよ。小説書いて稼ぎはあるんだろ。
だって私運転免許持ってないもん。あ、先生を運転手として雇えばいいんだ。
俺だって持ってねえよ。
I hunkered down in the prep room and contemplated the case for hours, having no classes to distract me. But while I'd learned quite a lot, I still didn't have all the pieces, which made my thoughts loop around the same train tracks over and over. My only real accomplishment was creating a mountain of cigarettes in my ashtray.
先生おると？
Tojiko suddenly popped in amidst my fruitless brainstorming session.
何か分かったか？
そうだね。結構深刻な問題かもしれないよ、これは。
Language. She shut the door behind her and walked in.
1年の子に聞いたんだけど、あの黒い卵ってのはシスマっていうのにならないともらえないみたいだよ。
Schisma.
シスマ
Or schisma.
キリスト教でいう分裂のことか。
詳しい意味までは知らないよ。それでね、ここだけじゃなくて他の学園にもシスマの人がいたみたい。今はもういないらしいけど。
You know, you gotta give it to Chojiko over here. She really is coming in clutch with a lot of priceless information. Because members started getting murdered, I take it.
シスマの活動内容は聞けたのか？
いわゆる不良の集まりみたい。
And there it is, a delinquent group. So it seems that well, it's not that I necessarily theorize this, but this was something that was kind of pointed out a little bit. I think last episode, where we kind of theorized there was some kind of group that was maybe even like prostituting the girls. So, but delinquent group, that kind of lines up with what we were initially thinking.
不良ね。売春か？
みたいだよ。多分西園さんや今村さんも強要されていたのかも。
I'd already pieced most of that together, but getting confirmation was still disconcerting all the same.
あと薬もやっていたみたいだよ。
それで死亡者は？
それは教えてもらえなかった。
Tojiko suddenly started fumbling over her words. She'd probably figured it out knowing her. The ringleader's identity was glaringly obvious.
そうか。じゃああとは黒い聖母のことだな。
I mean, you know, ringleader's identity being glaringly obvious, a bunch of rebellious delinquent students. You know, I'm gonna keep it to myself for now. I'm gonna keep it to myself. That was still the vaguest part of the whole picture, so intel on that was sorely needed.
そっちは特にないんだよね。黒い卵の噂と対になっているだけかもしれないよ。
うん。ではその噂の出元はわかるか？俺がざっと調べたところ、ダンテの新曲にはそんな黒い卵などの記述はなかった。
なんかあるんだろうけど、私が聞いた子は知らなかったみたい。やっぱりシスマじゃないとダメなのかな。
そうか。ありがとうな、トジコ。
だからトジコって、まあいいや。それじゃね。
Tojiko left after that rare display of resignation. Yeah, well, I think even for her, that's a little bit heavy, you know? I think it's kind of starting to dawn on her how real this is, especially her involvement. That evening, I visited the staff room to say goodbye to Saiki before I left.
あ、時坂先生、ちょうど良いところにいらっしゃいました。
どうかなさったんですか？
The man in question seemed restless and was talking without thinking. He must have been flustered.
実は今日、3年の月島さんが休んでいたんです。ですが、こちらへ連絡がありませんでしたので、先ほどご自宅の方へ電話をしたのですが。
まさか、家にもいないんですか？
Saiki shook his head.
いつも通り朝自宅を出たらしいのですが、それ以降の足取りは。
警察へ連絡は？
それがまだ。
Call them, brother!
すぐに通報してください。世間
Yeah,
の気に
dude,
してい
come
る
on,
暇は
bro,
ありま
what
せ
the
ん。
fuck? Oh yeah, there's been a bunch of fucking student murders going around, and all of a sudden one of our students goes missing. Shit. I fought the urge to start combing the streets at once, issuing orders to Saiki instead.
警視庁捜査課の魚住巡査部長に自分の名前を出して伝えてください。
I turned around and found Kusaka standing in the doorway.
草加先生もお願いします。月島さんを探してください。
月島さんがどうかしたのですか？
例の連続殺人に巻き込まれた可能性があります。
わかりました。すぐに探しに行きます。
Lock in Kusaka. Kusaka hurried on out.
教頭はここに残って連絡を待っていてください。あと、月島さんの写真などはありますか？
そこに。
Saiki grabbed the receiver and pointed to his desk. Settled between an arrangement of documents at a small mugshot of Orihime.
では、
Yeah.
ここはよろしくお願いします。
Damn, dude. Fuck. With that, I raced out. Not Orihime, bro. We just had a whole, thing with her last episode. I dashed out of the school and looked around. If Orihime had been grabbed on the way here, then it had been ages already. Meaning I'd probably have to extend my search radius rather far. Now, where to look? Fuck! Oh god, this is too much pressure. Okay, let's think about this logically. She left home in the morning. It's now afternoon, and we're just now getting this information. She could be fucking God knows where. Okay. Fuck me, this is... Okay, I don't think Moon World. Inokashita Park could be possible. Obviously not, Takshido Clinic. Or even the detective agency. I honestly think our best bet's probably gonna be over here, Shinjuku Station. Let's head over there. Oh god, I hope I'm right on this. I bumped into Uezomi when I checked Shinjuku Station for any clues on Orihime's whereabouts.
魚住、非常線は張ったのか？
学院の連絡を受けてすぐにな。区内はもちろん三玉にも網を広げている。ただ遅かったかもしれねえな。
No. Uezomi grumbled angrily, crunching on his cigarette all the while.
朝に誘拐されたのならば、車だとどこへでも行けてしまう。
That's what I'm
これ
saying.
までの星ならば
This fucking
懸賞
principal.
金目的ではないから連絡もしてこないだろう。
Fuck, dude. Why? What kind of logic is that? Right? Like, oh, hey, our student didn't show up in this time of intense, like, stress and anxiety because there's a serial killer going around kidnapping girls, 2 of which have been from our school. But oh no, don't tell the fucking detective that you hired for this. Don't go to him. Don't call the police right away. No, we have to save face for our school.
だがこれまでと同一犯なら
Oh god.
この近郊に必ずいる。怪しいところをしらみつぶしに探していけば。
警官だって無尽蔵にいるわけじゃねえんだ。目星をつけねえと。
これまでの事件は武蔵野三鷹地区を中心としている。遺体発見現場は多摩霊園と石神井公園。
どこも広くて夜には人通りが絶えるところだな。
そうだ。だがそれでも近くだと思うぞ。杉並練馬、三鷹武蔵野、宝谷田無、小金井。
わかった。そう指示を出す。
Perfect. With him on the case, I no longer had any reason to ask around Shinjuku, and so I decided to look elsewhere. Fuck me, man. Okay, I think... the next place I would go to is Inukashita Park. That's where we find her most often, so maybe she just didn't go to school that day because you wanted to go here? I ran over to Inukashita Park. Orihime came here all the time. Thus, I hoped someone might have seen her.
あら、時坂くん。
京子か。
何よ。私じゃ不満かしら。
そうじゃない。人を探しているんだ。
I showed Orihime's photo to Kyoko.
あら、この子。
知っているのか。
ええ、よくお店に来ているわよ。確か月島さんだったかしら。
Yes, it is. So she was a Moonworld regular and I never even knew.
今日学院に来る途中で行方不明になった。
え？
Kyoko bit her lip.
今日の午前中、それ以降でもいい。
ごめんなさい。今日は見ていないわね。
そうか。ありがとう。お前も気をつけろよ。
Not here, huh? Better look elsewhere. Shit, there isn't a trace of her anywhere. I looked all around the city yet and had nothing to show for it but the passage of time. Furthermore, calling the MPD in school only revealed that they hadn't had any more luck than me. Fuck, did I fuck that up? Did I fuck that up, please? Oh, for the love of God, please don't tell me that there was a way to find her in this sequence. Or, you know what, this is all some elaborate misunderstanding, I'm sure. We're about to run across her. She's like, oh, teacher, oh yeah, I decided to skip school because I wasn't feeling well. Surely. I sat on a bench and looked up at the night sky. The stars were gleaming. God damn it. Why the hell didn't I piece the clues together quicker? If I had, we could have taken her into protective custody and none of this would have ever happened. Yeah, so remember earlier, just a bit earlier actually, when I was saying that I was going to keep my thoughts of who the ringleader was to myself? I'm pretty sure the ringleader was Orihime, right? I might still be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's, it's glaringly obvious. It's like, okay, well, who the hell did we spend so much time with last episode, And we got to know was very active in the anti, perfect girl scene, right? A white stream of light suddenly raced across the sky.
流れ星だね。
Toko, ever the elusive phantom, suddenly approached me from behind.
時坂さんは何かお願いしたのかな？
祈るだけで願いが叶うのならいくらだって祈ってやるさ。
ロマンがないね。現実主義者なのかな？
Toko circled me to look me in the eyes.
年を食うと現実的なことしか見なくなるんだよ。
何かあったんだね。
ああ。
解決できるといいね。
そうだな。
I had to get to the bottom of this. Much as I wished I could hold out for hope, I knew things looked bad.
君はいつも俺が弱っている時に現れるんだな。
そうかな。時
So
坂
you're
さんは
always going
ずっと呼ばれっぱなしなの？
That's not an unfair critique. Toko regarded my face.
学院でもいつも顔を合わせているじゃないか。そういう時も弱っているの？
いや、そういうわけじゃないよ。
I assuaged Toko when I saw the discouraged look on her visage.
そうだな。もう少し気合を入れないとならないな。
Now was hardly the time to dawdle. Who knew what Orihime was going through while I was sitting on my ass?
まだ働くのかい？
ああ。今晩は徹夜になりそうだ。
I had to find whatever clues I could. No matter how trivial they seemed, I needed to chase down my leads. But first things first.
送っていくぞ、トコ。
大丈夫だよ。一人で帰れるよ。
送らせてくれ。
Toko probably didn't meet the criteria that the other victims had. Still, as far as I was concerned, it was better safe than sorry.
うん。わかった。じゃあ、送って。
Toko wrapped her ice-cold hand around mine. I silently squeezed it back. Fuck me. No! Please, please don't be Orihime. Please. Oh my god, no. Did I fuck that up? Please tell me I didn't. That wasn't my fault. Please tell me that wasn't my fault. This was it. The day of judgment had finally arrived after so long. It was time for the damnable ringleader, the root of this disaster, the one who'd started it all, to repent. No! Fuck me, dude, no! Oh, mother... God damn it! Her death couldn't be short and simple. Oh my god, no. Oh, fuck. As her sins were the gravest, she deserved to suffer in eternal darkness until the end of time. For she had sown the seeds of scandal and schism that had brought pandemonium to this world. Oh, fuck. Orihime, I'm so sorry. The girl was drugged unconscious and crucified to the wall. Her hands and right leg were bound, however her left leg was swaddled in a black cloth, tarnishing it was simply out of the question. Now let the Black Madonna render judgment upon you. A blade carved lines into her porcelain skin. Crimson pearls frothed to the surface and quietly oozed out. A delicate balance and a healthy dose of restraint were necessary to keep the wounds neither deep nor shallow. Why do I have to break my back for this tramp? A raging urge to kill struggled beneath its chains. She had rightfully warranted thousands of deaths for her sins. However, the impulse was stifled. After all, a simple death was far too merciful for her. She would be granted no salvation. The book stated that those who endured pain were rewarded, but that was simply unacceptable. Her soul deserved its spot amongst the eternally damned. Then, with the utmost care, so as not to leave any marble skin behind, her arms, chest, and right abdomen and right leg were slashed. A book was opened. The devil butchers with his longsword. Intestines dangle out between their legs, their organs exposed and their faces rent in two. So face split in two then. A figure was reflected off the girl's glossy pupils. In them was that devil, clad in black. The tip of the blade poked the corner of her mouth, before cleaving it through to the ear like butter. Oh no. Oh fuck, dude, no. Please don't tell me there was a way to fucking stop this, dude, no. Flesh dangled off her cheek, exposing straight rows of teeth up to her molars for all the world to see. Blood gushed from the wound and sullied her white uniform. It almost looked as though she were smirking, as if she relished in her own suffering. Flames of hatred roared at the sight, and tears of blood were consequently carved below the girl's eye. The torture was temporarily halted to swipe a syringe and ampule off a nearby desk. Ironically, the girl had sold the very same substance. However, the dosage couldn't be so high as to kill her, hence the need for going through all these unwanted hoops. Ah, fuck me. So not only do we have to sit here and watch her get fucking tortured, but now there's this whole revelation that she was a part of this delinquent group that sold drugs and prostituted girls. And so it was that the concoction was administered in her left leg several times. Another injection was made right next to her debauched genitals, setting the stage for the surgery. A hatchet was grabbed and appraised. Blood spattered everywhere. The girl's left leg plopped to the floor. She didn't make a sound the whole time. Damn it, how underwhelming. I knew I should have reduced the anesthetic and done it while she was still awake. The clothed appendage was plucked from the ground. Gore wiped off the stump. That leg still had a greater purpose to serve. Soon it would all be ready. The bleeding from the stump on the girl's torso was quickly stemmed before her uniform was ripped open. The black egg had to be broken. Her entrails had to hang. This corrupt soul had to be purified. A moment later, the splash of a scalpel sinking under the navel resounded. Swiftly was her wound opened, her uterus removed with relative ease. The bodies left in this girl's wake had made the procedure all too simple. The uterus radiated pleasant warmth in the palm of a hand. A few moments later, the black egg was torn off the girl's bag. This was it. This was what had caused everything to go awry. And so with great wrath was the egg shoved into her abdomen and furiously crushed. Is she still alive? Is her heart still beating? Oh, how I hope the anesthetic wears off before she dies. Fuck! Fuck, dude, fuck! Oh, motherfucker. Dude, what the fuck? No way. Oh, if that fucking teacher had just told somebody instead of waiting until the end of the day. Oh my, bro, if I was this guy, dude, I would crash out, bro. Holy shit. Fuck me. The girl traversed a dark path all by her lonesome. Both the way forward and the way back were shrouded in the deepest of shadows. And with her footing unstable, she hadn't the faintest if the ground at her feet was soil, sand, gravel, or overgrown grass. If anything, her steps felt soft and fluffy, as if walking across the clouds. And yet she didn't halt her march, for dearly in her arms did she carry the most reassuring of companions, the black egg. It would be no exaggeration to compare its size to that of a dinosaur's. The girl handled the egg carefully so it did not slip out of her grasp. From time to time, she would press her ear against the shell and nod to herself in understanding before abruptly changing direction. That raised a question, of course. What was in the egg? An actual dinosaur hatchling, perhaps? Nay, it was none other than the girl's own mother, or so she told herself. The girl's mother led every step of the way, addressing her in the same kind and gentle voice as always. She watched over her daughter from within the black egg at all times, whether they be sad, painful, or blissful. Thus, her mother's guidance helped the girl navigate her way through the darkness and arrive at a mysterious new area. Though her vision was still murky, she could tell a massive gate towered before her, shut firmly. A sign with a sentence inscribed upon it hung above the gate. The girl asked her mother what was written there. "You have naught to fear, not when your heart is stalwart and your wisdom vast," said her mother in a kindly voice. Hearing that lifted the girl's spirits. "I hope I can find your body soon," said the girl, caressing the black egg before pushing open the gate.
雪が降っている。冬、寒く 辛い季節。あなたのぬくもりが欲しいからそっと抱きしめる。
March 16th. Okay.
兄さん、
Yukari's concerned voice greeted me when I stepped through the door to my home, dead tired after a night of combing the city.
ただいま。
先ほど魚住さんからお電話がありました。至急武蔵関に来てほしいと。
Fuck me, goddammit. Here it goes.
武蔵関。
Oops. That was all I needed to hear to piece together what had happened. My worst fear had come to pass.
兄さん、今日はお休みした方が。
そうもいかないさ。
I tried to remain as calm as possible, knowing she was only saying that out of the goodness of her heart.
今日も忙しくなりそうだから、学院へは後で行くと思う。
ええ。
そう心配するな。休むときはしっかりと休むよ。
ぜひそうしてください。
Yukari left for school after shooting me one last concerned glance. Time to get to work. Fuck, dude. Oh, God. By going west down Ome Street to Musashiseki from my place and walking to the border of Nerima and Hoya, you'd find Musashiseki Park. A swarm of police officers was assembled in the parkland bordering Fujimi Pond. I stared at the cloudy sky for quite some time until Uezomi finally came over, a scowl etched profoundly into his features.
来たか。
やはりそうか。
確認してくれ。
ああ。
Oh, fuck me. God damn it, dude. Lying there was an empty husk that had once been the beautiful Orihime Tsukishima. Yet oddly enough, my heart was unmoved. Maybe I was just so exhausted that my mind had gone numb. Thus, I calmly analyzed the crime scene despite being faced with the most gruesome sight. We're 30 minutes into the episode, and I feel like I've just been beaten in the stomach with a fucking bat. Okay, let's get to it. Morning dew rose across the pond and shrouded the park in fog. Under any other circumstances, it would have made for a simply magical sight. But the hastily scrambling of cops and forensics officers quickly squashed whatever beauty the scene had to offer. Just checking everything, as I usually do. Let's get the body. Orihime's corpse was carefully posed against one of the trees, as if she were a sacred monument for the world to behold. And yet, none of it even fazed me. Excuse me. It was almost like part of my heart didn't want to bother processing my feelings on the matter. Well, that's not healthy, is it?
目撃者はいるのか。
深夜1時頃、帰宅途中の会社員がここで目撃している。その時は付近も暗く、不老者が眠っているのだと思って立ち去ったらしい。
夜通し探し回ってこのありさまか。
この辺りを警官が見回ったのが午前3時頃だった。
Uezomi calmly went over the facts like it had nothing to do with me.
遺体を調べるぞ。
I quelled any and all emotion and got to work. Orihime's long hair was as glamorous and beautiful as it had been in life. She was also still wearing her trademark silver hair accessory. However, some patches of her hair were hardened here and there. Blood spatter must have gotten on them. Lumps of coagulated crimson flaked off when I needed them.
こいつはひどいな。
Uzomi grimaced. Her cheeks were sliced from ear to ear, exposing rows of pearly whites. It almost looked like she was smiling. Her face was also a crisscross of myriad lacerations. The killer had deliberately avoided cutting too deep to ensure she suffered a slow and painful death. Jesus Christ. Orihime Tsukishima's husk reclined against the tree beyond recognition. Her white uniform had been stained scarlet, slashed from top to bottom by a blade. Furthermore, her wrists were bound by bloody bruises, were surrounded by bloody bruises, indicating she'd been restrained. Though she was riddled with cuts, none of them were deep enough to be fatal. Just making my way down.
今度は左足か。
She was missing one of her limbs. Just like all the other victims thus far, it seemed the cut surfaced had received simple treatment to stem the bleeding. Why in the hell would they do that?
悪いな。
I apologized to the lifeless girl before opening up her tattered clothes. What I found beneath was skin laddered with cuts, and a stitched up incision in her abdomen. Her belly was unnaturally thin, signifying she too had likely been pillaged of her uterus. I put her clothes back on in order to confirm. I put her clothes back in order after confirming my suspicions. Let's make sure we're not missing anything. Oh. Something was jutting out of her skirt pocket. I carefully pulled it out, making sure not to get my fingerprints on it. What I had discovered was a rectangular scrap of paper that was about 5 centimeters long. It was well worn and caked in spatters of blood. There were words printed on it that had been reduced to incomplete sentences thanks to the rips in the paper.
文庫本のカバーの折り返しか。
Meaning the sentences were probably the book's summary of something of the sort.
こいつも鑑識行きだな。
Alright, anything else? There's probably a black egg in her abdomen, but I'd have to wait for the autopsy to be sure. Yeah, well, I really don't think that's too much of a stretch of the imagination. Alright, make sure we're not missing anything. Ah, there you go. Something was stuck in her mouth.
魚住、手袋を貸してくれ。
おう。
I donned some white gloves that were a little too big for me before reaching into Orihime's mouth. Moments later, I pulled out a piece of paper that was slathered in blood and saliva.
それは
お互いより額。髪まで顔を切られて嘆きつつ、我に先立ちゆくはありなり。その他汝のここに見るものは皆。
God damn it.
新曲か。
The handwriting resembled the last one, too. Yui Nishizona must have written this then.
一応これも鑑識に回してくれ。
I handed the paper to a nearby forensics officer. Ugh, we're cooked, dude. We're so cooked. I caught a glimpse of what appeared to be a tear stain made of blood. Had the killer added that on purpose? Just making sure I'm absolutely getting everything. Let's look elsewhere. Railroad cuts. Black egg. The bloodstains on the ground likely originated from the cut surface. A black cloth was spread under the body.
やはりここで殺されたわけではなさそうだな。
That conclusion was evidenced by the relative lack of blood absorbed by the cloth.
今までと同じか。
Nothing strange apart from the bloody cloth soak. Again, I'm trying to make sure I'm not missing a single fucking thing here. I mean, I would think that's pretty much it, right? I don't think there's anything else to look at. Look elsewhere, look elsewhere, look elsewhere. absolutely sure I'm not missing anything, because this is... Fuck me, man. I think that's it. I think we've gotten all the important pieces of information we can get from this. Oh, son of a bitch! Oh. Orihime, what the hell did you get yourself into? So, before we end the investigation here, I mean, I just kind of want to go over this. So, there's some group that called themselves Schism. They were a group of delinquent students made up of both students within this school, within this girls' academy, and other schools as well. They were involved in selling drugs and forcibly prostituting girls. So, what the fuck did Orihime have to play in that? I mean, like I said, I think, you know, it's been confirmed really at this point that she was the ringleader, you know, because that's what the killer had said. But it kind of begs the question, you know, why? Was Orihime, like, why was Orihime the leader of this group? Like, well, I guess it's not too much of a stretch to imagine why she was a leader of it, but would she really have condoned selling drugs and prostituting girls? Forcibly, even. You know, like Orihime was definitely, you know, not as perfect and model-esque as she appeared to be, but surely she wouldn't stoop to that kind of level, right? I mean, it's a little bit hard for me to wrap my head around, just considering what we know about her and the interactions we had with her last episode. So it's like, would she really have, you know, would she really have participated in those things and facilitated those things? So, man, there's still a whole bunch we need to discover, specifically about this group she was involved in. And honestly, I would not judge Reiji at all if he got a little bit more hands-on and in interrogating some of these members of this group. Because clearly, the killer is specifically targeting girls that were involved in this organization, right? So, what that tells us about the killer is that they have some kind of connection with this group. Maybe they knew somebody that was in the group and that was, you know, affected by them. So now they're going after the group because, oh, you hurt this person that I knew. Maybe they were a part of that group at some point and were directly affected by it. You know, so it's like, there's a connection there that we have to kind of find out the specific reasoning behind. But yeah, man, damn. I think that's it. I figured I'd investigated everything relevant. The rest, we just have to wait for the autopsy.
仏を搬出するぞ。
ああ
Orihime was loaded onto a stretcher and carried off. With that, my mind shifted gears to my next move.
なあ、ウズミ。彼女の自宅は調べてあるか？
場所は分かっている。すでに連絡は行っているだろうな。
今すぐに令状を取れるか？月島織姫の身辺を洗いたい。
厳しいな。月島家は西の綾崎家と並ぶ大家だ。そう簡単に行くはずがない。
そうか。
Still, we couldn't afford to miss any potential clues. Maybe the situation called for technical abuse of authority.
場所を教えてくれ。
おい、レイジ。
勘違いするな。俺はただ学院の講師として行くだけだ。
だがそれじゃ何かが見つかったとしても証拠として認められんぞ。
分かってる。どうせ直接犯人に繋がるものは出てこないだろうさ。
Yeah, I think we're mainly wanting to go there in order to find out more about this schism group she was a part of. If there was anything, it'd be about the core of this case. Schisma. There you go. I hadn't managed to ask her about that before passing, and that fact was a regret I'd undoubtedly carried to the grave. Maybe this was a wild goose chase. Maybe I'd be wasting time we can no longer afford to lose. Still, I wanted to chase whatever leads existed in hopes of quickly unmasking the killer.
これ以上犠牲者を出したくねえんだよ。
俺は何も聞いちゃいないからな。もちろん月島家が三鷹の神連尺にあるなんて教えるはずもねえ。
今からやることは俺の独断だ。
さっさ
Those
と
zombies
行
are
き
the
やが
real
る。
one. I ran out of the park. The Tsukishima residence was over 5 clicks away, but I could easily run that. I couldn't afford to take it slow this time. Not anymore. Alright. Running off of 0 hours of sleep. Barely able to emotionally process seeing a student that we were fairly close to be brutally mutilated. And now we're going to confront the parents. This can't end bad at all. The Tsukishima estate sat quietly amidst the woods. Orihime's grandfather, the head of the family, was surprisingly accommodating and led me straight to his granddaughter's room once I told him I was a visiting teacher. From what he told me, the rest of the family had been aware Orihime was acting strangely, but hadn't the foggiest idea what to do about it. Though she never let anything show on her face, she was still their daughter at the end of the day, and parents never miss that sort of thing. Still, I never thought it'd come to this, lamented her grandfather. Unfortunately, this was no time for regrets. I had to search his granddaughter's room. Let's do it! Check out the pictures. There were 3 framed landscape paintings on the wall. I couldn't tell what the locations they depicted, but they were probably from other countries if I had hazarded a guess. Orihime had probably possessed an interest in art as well. I checked the backs of the picture frames, but found nothing. Just make absolutely sure. Windows, maybe? Nope, nothing. Alright, let's move on to these. A row of thick books stood in single file. They seemed to be German Japanese and Italian Japanese dictionaries. She had an interest in foreign languages. I leafed through them, but nothing really caught my eye. Little box. There was a bamboo box on the desk. I removed the lid and snuck a peek inside. Hair clips and combs were neatly arranged within. It didn't seem like anything worth noting was in there. Okay, let's move on to these books. No? This painting. A picture. There was a photograph of a landscape on the desk. It was a perfect match for this tranquil realm. The room felt rather adult compared to Yukari's. That was Orihime in a nutshell, alright. Plant. The plant is the killer. The 3 folders were lined up side by side. I opened one to find it contained the newspaper and magazine clippings. She carefully glued them all to cardboard. However, none of them seemed particularly noteworthy. Really? This picture's anything? Sounds pretty important. Whatever. I figured this would also be important. Apparently not. Let's check out the drawers. The middle drawer was full of notebooks. I flipped through them, but it seemed they had nothing but class notes within. There wasn't anything of particular interest. The top drawer contained organized rows of writing implements and accessories. I tried scouring the back too, but found nothing of note. I found a photo album in the bottom drawer. It was full of photos dating as far back as when Orihime was still a little girl. The more I flipped through them, the more a depressing revelation came to light. Orihime was wearing a poker face in nearly all the shots. Hardly did she ever smile. She'd likely been raised not to. She couldn't even take it easy in her own home, could she? Such is the life. Okay, let's check out these. I opened the cabinet and looked inside. Various bulky objects sat in there. They included music boxes and jewelry boxes. I searched them from top to bottom, but failed to find anything particularly unusual.
少しそこが持ち上がってるのか。
Indeed, the bottom was slightly elevated. Maybe there was something hidden beneath it. Okay, well, let's look into it. Ah, fucker. I checked the books. They were plays, philosophy texts, psychology books, romance novels, mystery stories, and even foreign works. Orihime sure had been quite the avid bookworm. Nothing else, eh? Let's check it out, come on. I searched everything else! What do you want me to search? I guess I have to click End Investigation. I mean, yeah, I'm pretty confident we searched everything else, so... Just double check, back through everything, make sure we absolutely got everything. Okay. Alright. I took everything out of the cabinet and lifted the false bottom. Inside was a book with extravagant binding. I opened it thinking I'd hit the jackpot, but it turned out to be nothing more than an ordinary novel. It was titled The Egg of Nianis. The book in question appeared to be a relatively recent fantasy novel written in a child-friendly style. Pretty bizarre dust jacket for a book like that, though. I skimmed through the pages. Much to my surprise, the words Black Egg and Black Madonna came up fairly often. Was this where the rumor originated? I slid off the dust jacket and looked over the book's cover. The author was Shin Katsuragi, probably some up-and-coming novelist. Oddly enough, the cover looked familiar. But from where? Probably from the book cover we found in her pocket. It was time to check my notebook again. Yeah, well, this one's easiest. Shirt pocket, yep. Confirm. No, not that. What? Fuck you! That's exactly what it was. The flap of a paperback book. Okay, fine. I guess it wasn't that. Oh, this. It's right behind her. That's right. It was in that photo Yorotsuki Mori took of Yui Nishizono. Though it was difficult to make out since it was behind her and all, the distinct monochrome design was a dead giveaway. If so, then...
Katsuragi Shin.
Maybe I'd have to pay him a visit. I went to a bookstore near Kichijoji Station after leaving the Tsukashima estate, I can't speak, and purchased a copy of The Egg of Nianis. After all, I couldn't very well have taken Orehime's for all sorts of reasons.
あら、今日は早いのね、時坂君。
Yeah, what's up, Kyoko? I have no fucking sleep. I need coffee. Give me some coffee.
悪い京子、電話貸してくれ。
I asked Kyoko for a favor the moment I stepped into Moonworld.
いいわよ。忙しそうね。
ああ。
I dialed the police in a hurry. It wasn't long before Uzomi picked up.
うまくいったのか？
ある程度はな。それで調べてもらいたいことができた。他の被害者の自宅を捜索して、ネアニスの卵という本があるかどうか確認してほしい。
ネアニスの卵？
桂木慎とかいう作家の小説だ。ついでにこの作者についても調べてくれるとありがたい。
小説家の方は調べはつくだろうが、外車が本を持っていたかは月島家とほぼ同じ理由で令状は出ないかもしれないぞ。
別に家探しする必要もないだろう。家族に聞けばいい。
あまり期待するなよ。
Uzomi grumbled on the other end of the phone.
俺はしばらく月世界にいるから、桂木慎の居場所が分かったらこっちに連絡してくれ。
I hung up after that. Since I had time to kill, I decided to read the book while I waited.
時坂さん、こちらへどうぞ。
Hatsune led me to a chair at the furthest end of the counter. A steaming cup of fragrant coffee was already waiting for me.
お疲れのようですから、甘いものも用意しておきました。
Thank you, Hatsune, you little angel.
ありがとう、初音くん。
コーヒーを入れたのは私なんだけどな。
Kyoko was sulking behind the counter, cheeks inflated like a pufferfish.
分かってるよ。悪いな。電話借りちまって。
いいのよ、そのくらい。
Oh, my back. Kyoko smiled and gave me a wave of her hand.
さて。
I kicked back and relaxed as I perused the book. However, the more I read, the more alarming its parallels to this case grew. The story concerned a girl's journey through hell, distributing black eggs to sinners. Those who managed to go 13 days without breaking the egg were granted salvation, but those who broke it were killed by the Black Madonna. It lined up perfectly with that rumor. What's more, the concept of witnessing sinners' torments along the journey through hell was straight out of the Divine Comedy. And if that wasn't enough, not only were the punishments basically the same, but they also aligned with the state of the recent victims' bodies. In the story, you had to offer a part of your body to obtain a black egg. The protagonist gathered those parts and tried to create a body for her mother. Unfortunately, believing her mother's head to be within her own egg, the girl broke it, rendering all her effort null and void. Nothing of hers was left behind. Then the girl started her journey all over again, following the exact same steps in an endless loop. The book was as connected to this case as the sky was blue. Suddenly, the phone rang. I've kind of had this suspicion from the beginning, but I think at this point we can pretty confidently say that the killer's a female. I feel like that was kind of apparent, but I swiftly rose to my feet and picked it up before Hatsune could.
魚住か。
なんでお前が出るんだよ。
Yep, happy to hear your voice too, buddy.
俺が電話待っていたんだから当然だろう。で、分かったか。
おう、桂木慎ってやつは中野駅近くのビルに事務所を持っているらしいぞ。普段はそこで仕事をしているらしいから、今から踏み込めば間に合うはずだ。
別にそいつを捕まえるわけじゃねえよ。悪いな。助かった。
俺には何が何だかわからねえが、とっとと星を突き止めてくれよ。
分かってるさ。
I scribbled down the address Suzumi gave me and hung up. Time to pay this Shin Katsuragi a visit. Hey, hello, Mr. Author Man. Have you been aware of the fact that your book has directly inspired a series of serial killers or serial killings involving the extreme torture and mutilation of high school girls? Are you aware of this? I took the Chuo line from Kichijoji to Nakano. My destination turned out to be just a short stroll from the station's north exit.
ここか。
Before long, I found a door with the nameplate Shin Katsuragi's office on it. I gave it a knock, and sensed someone moving on the other side. A man called out from within.
すみません。こちらは桂木さんの個人事務所でよろしいでしょうか。
申し訳ございませんが、今は多忙でして。
待ってください。
I hastily interjected once it became clear he was showing me the door, without even allowing me in to begin with.
桂木さんの著作が犯罪に使われた可能性があるんです。
僕の小説が犯罪に？少々お待ちいただいてもよろしいですか？
ええ、もちろん。
Phew, glad that worked. Anyone would at least be intrigued upon hearing that the events of their book were being replicated in real life. The door opened, revealing a young man.
お待たせしました。申し訳ありませんが、中は散らかっていまして、ここでもよろしいですか？
Hey, brother. If anybody's used to messy offices, it's Reiji.
ええ。お話をお聞かせくださるのでしたら。
Oh, fuck. There weren't many pedestrians around, so we could be as loud as we wanted without fear of prying ears.
申し遅れました。僕が桂木慎です。
では改めまして。探偵の時坂礼二です。現在は警視庁からの依頼を受けて事件の捜査を行っています。
It was a little white lie, but a necessary one. Besides, Uezomi had indeed given me the job.
警察からそういうこともあるのですね。
Katsuragi nodded to himself as if putting the pieces together in his mind.
それで今起こっている学生の連続殺人事件、この一連の犯罪があなたの本を参考にしたとしか思えない状況が。
それがネアニスの卵なのですね。
そういうことです。
そんなことが。しかしあの話は決して殺人をテーマとしたものではありません。
ええ。罪人を罰する地獄巡り、ダンテの新曲をモチーフとされていますね。
そうです。かの作品を分かりやすくしてみたものですが、でもそれでしたらその事件も新曲を元にしているのでは。
自分も最初はそう思いました。でも違ったのです。新曲になくてあなたのネアニスの卵にだけ存在する描写が鍵となったのです。
卵ですか。
He catches on quick. Saves me time, that's for sure.
地獄に落とされてもまだ一縷の望みは残っている。そういう意味で黒い卵というものを出したのですが。
芥川龍之介の雲の糸と同じですね。
一緒ではありませんよ。あちらは人の自己中心的な醜さを表した名著です。僕ごときがおいそれと追いつけるはずもありません。
それでその黒い卵なのですよ。
I quickly rerouted the conversation when I realized we were getting off topic.
被害者はおそらくネアニスの卵を読んでいると思われます。
Though we couldn't say for sure just yet, I was all but certain of it by this point.
おや、加害者が読んでいるからこそ 見立てが行われたのではないですか？
もちろん加害者も読者でしょう。ですが、あなたの著書の読者層は被害者の方が近い。
そうでしょうね。僕の本は女学生に多く読まれているそうですから、大人で読む人はごく少数でしょうね。
Katsuragi rested his hand on his chin, contemplating the matter.
昨年の暮れでしょうか。ネアニスの卵が発売されてすぐ本を読んだという女学生に会いましてね。その頃はまだ僕も駆け出しでしたから、いろいろと話をさせてもらいましたよ。
女学生、名前は覚えていますか？
さあ、持ってきた本にサインはしましたが、その時にも名前は入れていませんから。
Who could it have been? Maybe it was someone I knew. Bruh. Let me take a breath. Okay. So, somebody whose book was personally signed. Huh. I mean, I think it's pretty insinuated that it would be Orihime, right? Cult embezzlement alms. I mean, that would make sense to me, right? Like, if anybody's gonna start this rumor of Black Egg, the Black Madonna, you know, oh, buy this book, it's gonna be Orihime, the ringleader of it all. So I think we're gonna go with her.
ひょっとしてこの人ではありませんか？
いいえ、違いますよ。
Fuck. Kasaragi immediately shook his head. Better go through this one more time. Fuck, really? Okay. I'm pretty confident in that. Well, yeah, it's gonna be Yukari. Toko. Let me save here. Just in case. Her mother was a fortune teller. Yumitaki. Well, the only other person we know for a fact had that book was Yui Nishizono. Right? Surely? Please be right. I showed Katsuragi the photo I have of Yui Nishizono.
ああ、そうだ。この子です。白い制服が印象に残っていますね。
彼女はこの事件に関連すると思われる件で殺害されています。
本当ですか？それは何と申し上げればいいのでしょう。
Katsuragi seemed genuinely shocked. I didn't get the sense he was acting at least. Though admittedly I wasn't coming clean with him, seeing how we weren't entirely certain Yui Nishizono was dead. That's right, she's still missing technically, isn't she? Hold on, let me bring up my notebook. Huh. Excuse me. Yeah, no, because she's still missing. I don't remember if we saw her get killed. I know for a fact we've seen... Let's see, where's our girls? Haruka Imamura. She isn't... I guess she's technically also still missing. Although I'm pretty sure we theorized that she was the one who had that, like, super... decayed body. Kei Koizumi we know was murdered. Yeah, I mean, her corpse was found, so we know she was murdered. Obviously, unfortunately, we saw Orihime get murdered. Let's see. Who else do we have? Yumi Takigawa, I'm pretty sure we also saw her get murdered. Yeah, I mean, so the only two that I think we're still not 100% sure on is Nishizono and Imamura. Yeah, because these were the two that they said were, like, forced into prostitution. So, I mean, if I had to guess, you know, again, it's not confirmed completely that they're dead, but it's pretty obvious that they are, you know. Wait, that's the thing, because they call her a victim, while they call, like, Orihime victim. Okay, so I guess Imamura is confirmed dead. And then Nishizona's still just missing. Well, that's suspicious. You know, maybe Nishizona's our girl, right? I mean, it would make sense, right? Like, because I'm pretty sure they were friends. Imamura and Nishizona were friends, or at the very least, they had a mutual friend in Naomi, or something like that. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. There we go.
僕の本が犯罪に使われているのでしたら、これは由々しき事態です。
ええ、その時はぜひよろしくお願いします。
では、僕はこれで。まだ。
Katsuragi bowed before sinking back into his office. So he met Yumi Nishizono, huh? However, the question remained of whether that fact had any bearing on this case or not. Well, I mean, again, like I said, let's kind of think about it, right? Like, if in the case Yumi Nishizono is the killer, it would kind of sort of make sense. You know, oh, she's one of the first people to have read the book. She has a direct connection to being a victim and or have, you know, knowing somebody who's a victim of this schisma group. So, you know, that's motive right there. And again, she's missing, so in all theoreticality, that's availability, you know, that's because what it's typically like motive, of availability, and something else is a third one to that. But you know, whenever you're thinking about the possibility of somebody being a killer, you have to kind of come up with, like, I think it's the 3 things. So, but anyways, I returned to the school. Though it was inevitable, I wasn't looking forward to updating Saiki about the day's events. Students were out and about, meaning it was probably lunch break. However, their faces remained as stoic as ever. It was way too quiet for my liking. Considering all that, they probably hadn't been informed of Orihime's murder yet. Otherwise, this place would have been in an uproar. I highly doubted even this student body would be able to keep up their masks once the truth came out.
失礼します。
The staff room was deserted. That made sense. The teachers were probably having an emergency meeting about the murder. Oh well, I'll just have to go join them.
おや、時坂先生。
I bumped into Kusaka in the hallway.
ああ、日下先生。佐伯教頭はどちらですか？
教頭でしたら警察とのお話があるそうで、先ほど学院を出て行かれましたよ。
そうでしたか。
I could nix reporting to him then. Instead, I decided to pay the Takashido clinic a visit to learn what I could in the meantime.
すみませんね。わざわざ足止めしてしまいまして。
いえ、僕は構いませんよ。
I turned around and departed from the Takashido clinic. For the Takashido clinic. Alright. I rode the Seibu Shinjuku line to Takadano Baba and hurried over to the Takashido clinic. There I marched right in, ignoring the sign reading autopsy in progress at the front door.
おや、時坂はん、もう来たんですか？
Natsume was sipping tea in the operating room. The autopsy table was clean.
そないにあの子の結果が知りたかったんおすか？
ええ、お願いします。
おいなら行きますえ。仏さんは月島織姫、大場女学院のこの辺は知っとりますな。死因は全身に及ぶ創傷による失血死。じわじわと殺していったみたいやね。
夏目さんの感想は結構です。
This is not the time, Natsume!
死体観察なんて解剖医の感想が全てです。んで、全ての傷に生活反応が見られますな。もちろんお口も、お腹の切開口も、左足の切断面もそうですな。
今度は生きたまま全てが進められたということですか？
せやね。お腹も足も事前にモルヒネを注射しとりますから、ずいぶん慣れてきてますな。施術中は出血も少なかったんちゃいますやろか。亡くなったんもずいぶん後みたいですし。
確か最初に現場で目撃されたのは午前1時。
推定死亡時刻もその頃やね。今回の仏さんは簡単に殺しちゃあかんって意志が見え隠れしてますわ。
I just want to check something real quick. With our map here, Kasaragi's office, Kushiki Clinic. She was killed. I don't even think we can. Oh, here we go. Crime scenes. Oh, that's so fucking cool. Holy shit. That's awesome. Okay, yeah, so crime scene 1, 2. Then they had 3 up here and 4. The Musashiki Park. I'm kind of starting to wonder now if I did. Damn, that's close. Dude, look how close that is. It's literally like right fucking behind our house. I do wonder if I searched Opa Girls Academy instead of going to Shinjuku or even Inokishita Park, would I have had a chance of finding her? If you guys know, please let me know in the comments so I can fucking beat myself up. Alright? It looks like our killer really wanted this one to suffer. Yeah, no shit.
それが夏目さんの感想ですか?
Not that I hadn't considered the same possibility myself.
今までの仏さんはほぼ一撃で亡くなっとりますやろ。首をひねったのがいい例や。この子にはそのある意味慈悲が感じられへん。
殺しておいて慈悲も何もないでしょう。
せやね。
子宮はどうでしたか？
うん、そこも今までと同じや。子宮がくり抜かれて黒い卵の殻が詰め込まれとる。膣には成功の跡もありましたが、堕胎した形跡はありまへんでしたわ。
堕胎していない？
うまくしとったんちゃいますやろか。
そうですか。
It seemed I'd have to have another talk with Koharu Yamanochi at the Kuchiki Pathological Research Institute.
仏さんから分かることは今んとここんくらいやね。ああ、お口の中入っとった紙切れについては夕方にでも来てな。
もう一枚の方についてはどうですか？
That scrap found in Orihime's pocket still bugged me.
うん、そっちも後回しやね。そういっぺんに何でもできひんって。
それもそうですね。
I just have to come back in the evening then.
わかりました。それではよろしくお願いします。
うん、任せとき。
I left the clinic and took a bus from Takanodombaba Station to Nakano. The trip sure would have been a hell of a lot faster if only there was a subway route connecting the two though. With personal gripes aside, I reached the station after an uneventful trip before walking over to the Kuchiki Pathological Research Institute. Murase's grumpy face greeted me as soon as I entered.
なんだあんたか。
どうも。
We exchanged greetings, for a lack of a better word.
所長はいないぞ。
いえ、今日は山之内先生に用がありまして。
さっさと済ませて帰ってくれ。
ええ。
Damn, who pissed in his miso?
失礼します。山之内先生はおられますか？
あら、時坂先生でよろしかったですよね。
Koharu came out from behind her desk.
ええ。またお尋ねしたいことができてしまいまして。
そうですか。こちらへどうぞ。
I had a seat on the visitor's couch at her urging.
以前こちらで堕胎手術についてお尋ねしましたが、もう一人調べてもらいたい人がいるのです。
月島織姫さんですか。少々お待ちください。
あ、彼女は堕胎手術を受けていないと思われますが、通院した記録などが残っているようでしたらお願いします。
ええ、わかりました。
Koharu scrutinized the shelves by the wall. I doubted this had anything to do with why Orihime was murdered, but it never hurt to check.
あら、月島さん、学院での定期検診には出席されていなかったようですね。
So they probably had a family doctor, or at least kept it off the books.
そうなんですか。
ええ、学院生の記録もこちらで保管しているのですが。
Koharu frowned quizzically.
ではこちらで治療を行ったこともないと。
そのようですね。月島さんといえば大きな家ですから、専属の主治医などがいたのかもしれません。
そうですか。
嫁入り前の娘が身ごもるのは決して名誉なことではありませんからね。家族中がみんなうろたえてしまうんです。
そうでしょうね。 家族中が
Suddenly, a question crossed my mind.
山之内先生、ここへは皆家族に付き添われてくるのですよね。
ええ、ほとんどの方が母親に付き添われて来院されますね。
西園由依が来院された際、どな
Fuck. Her mother had passed away last autumn. So she'd come here by herself? Or...
西園さんは昨年の暮れに来院されてますが、一人だったかしら。いや、診察室へはお一人でしたが、外でどなたかが待っていたように思います。
それは誰ですか？
そこまではちょっと。お兄さんでしょうか。年上の男性でしたが。
An older man who had come with Nishizono for the abortion. Yui Nishizono's brother? I never heard anything about that. No, hold up. Maybe it was the man she was dating. But would a member of a prostitution ring like Yui Nishizono really be dating anyone? It wasn't impossible. There was at least one guy I could think of who fit the bill. The man she came here with was probably... fuck me. There's two people that I can think of. Mr. Shin Katsuragi himself, or Yorotsuki Mori. I don't believe it's Yorotsuki Mori, though. Well, it could very possibly be him. You know, this game tends to be pretty forgiving, right? Shin Katsuragi, come on.
ひょっとしてこの男ではありませんか？
Let's go, baby!
確かこの方です。
そうなんですか。
I never could have imagined Shin Katsuragi would have any ties to this place.
精神科は斉藤先生が担当されています。詳しい話はそちらでお聞きになった方がよろしいかと。
God, this just keeps getting deeper and deeper. So Shin Katsuragi was in the fucking psych ward, and for some reason was with Yui Nishizono when she came here to have an abortion. I don't know. A lot of this episode has been about Yui Nishizono, who, mind you, is in theory still just missing. Well...
わかりました。いろいろとありがとうございます。
I leaned forward and bowed. Okay then, let's pay this psych ward a visit. I left Koharu's office after she wrote me a letter of introduction. Now, which way is the psych ward?
私に用があるというのは君ですか？
I turned around, finding myself face to face with a man in a doctor's coat.
精神科医の斉藤玉樹です。以後お見知りおきを。
ええ、よろしく。ですが、なぜ探していることが分かったのですか？
簡単なことですよ。山之内くんから内線連絡が来たので、あなたを迎えに来たまでです。参加に男性が一人でいるのですから、すぐに分かりましたよ。時坂さん。
なるほど。
立ち話もなんですから、私の部屋に案内しましょう。
Saito turned around and led the way. He brought me to his office in the psych ward. I was greeted by a large painting on the wall as I entered.
確か、参加に通っていた西園さんと一緒にいた男性を探しているとか。
ええ。この少女なのですが。
I showed Saito her photograph.
一緒にいたのは桂木慎という男で間違いありませんか？
桂木。ええ、そうですね。彼は確かに私が見ています。
Well, is that something?
西園由依と共にいたのを見たことはありますか？
院外で一緒にいるのを見たことはありますよ。ただし、それ以上のことは知りません。
そうですか。
Shin Katsuragi claimed he didn't know Yui's name. However, that wouldn't be unusual if they'd first met here.
そうそう。西園さんといえば、彼女のお兄さんも私が見ていますよ。
なんですって？
Oh. This was news to me. None of Yui Nishizono's records ever pointed to her having a brother.
しまったな。ご存知なかったのですが。
An embarrassed look washed over Saito's face.
ええ。詳しくお話ししていただけますか？
患者の個人的なことについて 我々はおいそれと口に出してはならないのですが。
すみません。そこをなんとか。
仕方ありませんね。
Saito sighed and shifted in his seat.
私が聞いた話では、西園さんのご家庭は大戦末期に離婚されているそうです。妹さんは母親に引き取られ、西園姓になったのでしょうね。
その兄の名は？
戦後の混乱で戸籍が随分と失われました。そのせいでしょうね。記録上では兄弟として認められていないと言っていましたよ。彼、草加さんは。
草加。
Tatsuhiko?
達彦ですか？
No way. Tatsuhiko Kusaka and Yui Nishizono are siblings?
彼はオーバー
I
女学院
fucking
の教師で
knew
した。
that motherfucker was funky. I knew he had something more to do with this. Okay. Kusaka was actually Yui Nishizono's brother, right? Stay with me now. Yui Nishizono gets wrapped up into this prostitution ring that's led by Orihime with all this black egg stuff, yada yada yada. Yui Nishizono seemed to also get wrapped up in it because if you remember, boom, in this photograph, Yui Nishizono was clearly a part of that group and had read that book. So, right? Something happens to Yui Nishizono. You have her brother who is a patient at the psych ward. So clearly he's not exactly mentally like stable. So my running theory right now, and this is just something fun to throw out there. But what if something happened to Nishizono, or at the very least her brother found out what the Schisma group was doing to her, forcing her to prostitute herself. He goes crazy and starts killing all of the people that did that to his sister. Huh? That's not the worst idea, right? That's not the craziest thing to throw out there. So maybe Kusaka, the oh so innocent Kusaka, maybe there's a little bit more to him than we thought. Alright? Anyways.
どうだったのでしょうか。十数年の時を経て再会した妹は自分のことを知らず、それでも教師として接しなくてはならない。
Saito shuffled over to the painting.
彼女が失踪したと知った時、彼の苦悩はいかほどのものだったのでしょうか。
The painting, entitled Purgatory by Shinzo Mamiya, depicted droves of people suffering amidst towering flames.
なんせ年が明けて以降、彼がここへ来ることはありませんでしたから。
Since the start of the year, when these murders and disappearances first started, how fucking convenient is that, eh?
来ていないのですか?
Dude, come on, you gotta give that to me, right? Come on. I'm what? That's like what? 3 for 3 now, right? I predicted that. I don't know if I vocalized it, but I predicted that Kusaka was gonna play some kind of more important role than just a passing teacher, for one. For two, in my little analysis there, I predicted he might have gone crazy, which again, like, oh, he stopped going to the psych ward where he was receiving treatment. So now you have a guy who is mentally not all there, stopping his treatment. And then the 3 for 3 was with me suspecting him as the murderer, he stopped going at the beginning of the year when these murders started happening. Right? Anyways, yes, but I believe the fact in itself speaks volumes of his suffering, wouldn't you agree?
自分はただの探偵ですから、そこまでの心理分析はできませんよ。
Yet despite that, I couldn't help but imagine it. Losing your own sister must be hell on earth. I knew I'd have absolutely lost it if Yukari ever went missing. But wouldn't it be normal for most people in that position to tear heaven and earth apart looking for their sister? That was what I'd do, at least.
人の心など千差万別。表現の仕方は心の数だけあるんですよ。
Saito soothingly remarked as such, like I'd worn my thoughts right on my sleeve. It was evening by the time I left. Where to? Wow, what an information dump that was. So, Nishizono knew what I forget the guy's name, but she knew the author of the Egg of Nienus. On at least a more personal level, to the degree where he knew about her abortion, right? And not only that, but Yui Nishizono also had a brother who she was separated with by the war that is actually a teacher at her school. Wow. Holy shit. Okay. Alrighty. And then we're getting a bunch of this lore dump about the schisma group. First off, we got the name of it. Then we got to find out that it was led by Orihime and that there was drug distribution and forced prostitution involved. Alright. We said we were going to go check back in at Takashido Clinic, so let's do that. I arrived at the Takashido Clinic, but believe me, I had a good reason this time. It was about the paper that had been in Orihime's mouth. Forensics should have been done with it by now.
おや、時坂藩。えろ早かったおすな。
夏目さんが夕方までにはわかると言ってたんじゃないですか。
早いのは嫌われますよ。
Shut up, Natsume. You know you liked it. Go watch last episode if you don't know what I'm talking about. Get a little bit freaky. Yeah, I'm just gonna ignore that one.
文字の書いてた紙切れの方は鑑定済んどりますけどな。もう一個のはもうちょい待っておくんなもし。
時間がかかるんですか。
あんな時坂藩。まだ仏さん運ばれてから何時間も経ってへんのやで。
働いてください。
時坂藩が頑張ってくれるんやったら。
Natsume stared at my crotch.
で、片方は住んでるんでしょ。早く教えてください。
相変わらずいけずよ。まあ、そこがええんですけど。紙切れは前と同じですわ。西園結藩の筆跡をす。唾液は月島織姫藩。亡くなる前に詰め込まれたみたいやね。
やはりそうですか。
Now I had the evidence I needed.
では引き続き鑑定をお願いします。
帰るんますか？うちむっちゃ寂しいね。
俺だって忙しいんですよ。魚住でも誘ってやればいいじゃないですか。
Lord knows he could use a booty call.
魚住藩は身持ち固いんやもん。時坂藩くらいの軽さでないとあかんよ。
God, Natsume is just a horn dog. Jesus Christ.
帰ります。
God, why do I have to put up with this every single time? Hey man, I don't know why you're complaining. I have no idea why you're complaining. Okay, but man, wow, Yui Nishizono. Okay. I've gotta say it. Her fingerprints are being found on all these pieces of paper in presumably her handwriting, right? Because I'm pretty sure that was one of the pieces of evidence that we had, or at the very least, I'm pretty sure we confirmed that it matched her handwriting. So, this is all kind of leaning me more and more towards the idea that maybe Yui Nishizono's not dead. Maybe she's even the one behind these murders, right? Like, I don't know. That's where the evidence pointing me at right now, but who knows? We'll see. We might be thrown into completely different directions soon enough here. Okay. So we got that taken care of. I think we should probably head back to Opa Girls. Hopefully Kusaka's still there. Maybe we can pick his brain a little bit. I returned to Opa Girls Academy. The classrooms were deserted. It seemed just about all the students had gone home. I checked the staff room too, but it was similarly empty. The teachers must have been having a meeting. That was a damn shame. I'd really been hoping to talk to Kusaka. Oh well, sometimes haste makes waste. I'll just keep an eye on him for now. I looked out the window and spotted someone garbed in white at the edge of the schoolyard. Hey, isn't that... She was facing her easel. Though she clutched a pencil, she made no efforts to draw with it. Instead, she simply stared at her canvas as though meditating. Suddenly, her narrowed slits turned my way.
何を行き先切っているんだい?
Toko chuckled. Seriously? I didn't think I was that worked up.
月島織姫が殺された。
そう。道理で先生方が慌ただしかったはずだ。
She said that like it didn't concern her in the least. Though it really didn't, I supposed.
私は彼女とは何の関わりもない人間だからね。
I was about to say, they really had nothing to do with each other. Toko closed her eyes for a moment, taking a breath.
それで、時坂先生は私のことを心配してきてくれたのかな?
She cocked her head. Nah, I don't really care about you. Yeah, sure, why not?
そうだ。
Her safety had been first and foremost in my mind, though I had no idea why.
私なら心配ないよ。私には関係のないことさ。
That's fair enough. Toko's demeanor didn't falter at all.
心配くらいするさ。
私も被害者になりうる可能性があるのかい?
可能性のない人間なんて言いやしない。可能性がないと初めから排除して考えると。
じゃあ、時坂さんはきちんと私を守ってくれるというのかい?
守ってやるさ。
I meant every single word of that. There'd been no more bodies in this case. There'd be no more bodies on this case. Not on my watch.
それを聞いて安心した。
Reiji, that's what she said last time, and then, you know,
全てを守ろうだなんてことは無理なんだよ。
そんなこと、100も承知だ。
I was no knight in shining armor. Too many had died due to my failings. But that was exactly why I was so determined to at least keep the people in my own life safe, if nothing else.
そんなに思い詰めていると壊れてしまうよ。
Toko whispered that into my ear, a somewhat somber smile adorning her face. The sun had already gone down by the time I got home.
おかえりなさい、兄さん。
ただいま。
We still haven't gotten a wink of sleep, have we?
もうすぐ夕ご飯ができますから、少し待っていてくださいね。
ああ。
Yukari vanished into the kitchen. She didn't seem any different than usual. That probably meant she hadn't been informed of Orihime's death. They'd announce it at school tomorrow, though, so I figured it best if I kept that to myself.
お待たせしました。
Yukari came back with food on a tray. Forget about it, Reiji. Food first, thinking later. I retired to my room after having dinner and a bath. I sat on a floor cushion and puffed a cigarette. Upon glancing at the tiny calendar on the wall, it dawned on me once again that today was the 16th, meaning tomorrow was March 17th.
もう6年経つのか。
I had to go visit her grave tomorrow. Fortunately, it didn't seem I was due to teach any classes that day, so it worked out nicely. Though even if I were busy, that wouldn't have stopped me from mourning at Yukiko's grave as I had the last few years. For that was all I could do for her. She too had been the victim of a serial killer, one whom I had failed to stop. And now I was screwing up all over again. What good would wimping out do me? I already sworn there'd be no victims. What's more, it felt like I'd finally narrowed down the suspects. The case was as good as closed. All it'd take was a few more days. I had to put an end to this murder spree fast. But tomorrow... I turned off the lights. Tomorrow, I had to visit Yukiko's grave. Maybe we'll get a little more insight into Yukiko then. Man, this is one hell of an episode.
一人がいいとずっと思っていた。何事にも煩わされないし、面倒が少ないと。だけれど、初めて知った。大切な人が近くにいることが こんなにも素晴らしいなんて。一人の寂しさを知った。もう離れたくない。
それでは行ってまいります。
Bye bye, Yukari. Yukari stood at the door, garbed in her uniform.
ああ、気をつけてな。
兄さんはユキコさんのところへ。
ああ、悪いがゆかり、今年も。
ええ、分かっています。お一人で行かれるのでしょ。
すまないな。
If there was ever a time and place I needed to be alone, this was it.
私は後で行きますから、お気になさらずに。
Yukari left. I'd better hit the road too. I left home and first stopped at Kichijoji. From the stores there I bought chrysanthemums and an incense stick. I spotted several girls in Oba Girls Academy uniforms amidst the crowds emerging from the station, but none of them noticed me. Or maybe they did, but had chosen to ignore me. They seemed the same as ever for the time being, but they'd all be informed of Orihime's death today. Would they mourn once they learned? Or would the school not even allow them to shed a tear? I crossed the train tracks and marched onward until I reached a cemetery at a temple in Mitaka. Someone had been tailing me since Kichijoshi Station. I could feel it. Probably Toko. And here I'd been planning to visit alone.
出てきたらどうだ、トコ。
Yep.
なんだ、やっぱりバレていたのか。
Toko emerged from behind the graves, not the slightest bit of guilt tinging her face.
花なんて買っているからどこへ行くのかと思ったんだ。
菊を持っていたら行く場所なんて一つだろ
う。もしかしたら菊人形店に行くのかもしれないじゃないか。
そんなわけないだろう。
For the love of God, imprudent as she may be, I couldn't find it in myself to be mad at her.
なんてね、嘘。私もお参りしていいかな。
まあ、あいつも賑やかな方が嬉しいかもしれないな。普段は俺一人で来ているから。
ユキコさんだっけ？
Toko studied my face as we walked side by side.
ああ、ここだ。
We reached the grave. The tombstone had already been cleaned and decorated with flowers. Kyoko must have already paid her respects. I took my chrysanthemums and added them to the bouquet.
あれ、でもこの墓、時坂家って。
うちの墓だ。
結婚してたの？
いや。
I crouched down and lit the incense stick.
向こうの家が首のない遺体を墓に入れるのを嫌がったんだよ。
Jesus Christ. Toko gasped. I paid her no heed and began praying. It had been 6 years to the day since then. The city and the people living in it had changed a lot in that time. And honestly, so had I. I changed my job and my way of life. I'd had to. There was no way I could have gone on living otherwise. That was what I had to do to survive. And yet...
お前は変わっていないんだな。
The Yukiko in my heart looked exactly the same as she did 6 years ago. The way she always had since that accursed incident. So she was beheaded. That is terrible to know. A pregnant woman was brutally murdered in January 1950. She was found strangled to death with her abdomen slit open, her penis torn out and gruesomely nailed to a cross like the Son of God himself. Uezomi, Takashido, and I, who were all officers at the Ueno Police Department's Criminal Investigation Division, at the time were assigned to the case. The victim was an unlicensed prostitute who'd operated in the Ueno area. The killer's macabre MO was noted for its similarities to the Tamanoi dismemberment murder back in 1932, but otherwise the investigation made frustratingly little progress. At the time, it was believed that the killer was a customer of the victims, judging from her profession and location, and so the police centered their investigation around that assumption. Unfortunately, the victims' clientele were as innumerable as the stars, but there were far too many we couldn't locate, and it was all but impossible to narrow down the suspects from that pool. Thus, the body count continued to pile up, with us having nothing to show for it.
疲れてるの？
Yukiko's voice jolted me out of my stupor.
いや、そんなことないぞ。
今、寝そうだった。
Yukiko poked my cheek as she snuggled into me beneath our futon.
ユキコの体が気持ちよくてさ。
I hugged her tightly.
もう、またそうやってごまかすんだから。
Yukiko's warm breaths tickled my cheeks.
当たってる。
何が？
I pressed my hips against her as I asked that question.
意地悪。
Yukiko gently shifted her body after pouting for a moment. Okay. Alright, guys, come on. I mean, really? Aren't we supposed to be mourning his dead wife? Not... Okay, whatever. I mean, I'm not complaining, but... And just a few seconds later, I felt her lovingly wrap her moist mouth around my manhood.
おい、ユキコ。
Dang, that thing is huge, bro. Jesus.
まだ寝かせないんだから。
Yukiko covered my rod in a gleaming sheen of saliva, her head bobbing up and down.
どう？気持ちいいの？
気持ちいいけど。お前。
だっていいでしょ。
I reached out and cupped her breast.
ダメ。今は私がしてる。
硬くなってるぞ。
I toyed with her bud, kneading it in a circle.
だって仕方ないじゃない。
Yukiko moaned, a blush coloring her cheeks. Damn. Damn! Her hair stroked me each time her head bobbed.
すごく硬くなってきたわよ。ねえ、私にも。
Yukiko and I switched positions until I was straddling her. Damn! We kissed and wrapped our tongues around each other's. I reached for her pussy, soaking my fingers in her gushing nectar.
いいか。
優しく。
I slowly stuck my dick into her to fulfill her request. I like how this is our first impression of Yukiko. Yukiko gripped my arms harder. Her hot walls wriggled like they had a mind of their own, tensing around my cock. Yukiko wrapped her legs around my waist as she panted for dear life.
動いてもいいか。
待って、もう少しこのままで。
Yukiko put her hands on mine and grabbed my pinky. Her walls kept pulsating. I bent over and licked Yukiko's breast.
ダメよ。
Yukiko moaned as I gave her hard nipple a little flick.
赤ちゃんみたい。
Babu babu.
赤ん坊に吸われて。
そんなのわ。
Oops. Yukiko ran her fingers through my hair.
ねえ、もう動いていいわよ。
動いてほしいんだろ
バカ。
She turned away from me. I gave her a little peck on the cheek before I started swinging my hips. Yukiko groaned.
いいよ。気持ちいい。
俺もいいぞ。
Plap, plap, plap. get pregnant. My manhood surged with pleasure inside her every time she squirmed.
違うところがあって気持ちいい。
She suddenly shrieked when I thrust deep inside her.
Shh.
we're still living with Yukari. Yukari was sleeping in her room at the time. She was probably too far from us to hear, but still. Yukiko threw her head back and screamed even louder. Seeing her cover her mouth with a hand to keep her voice down only served to harden my erection. I pounded away faster and faster. Our genitals lewdly squelched as bubbles leaked out from between them. I shot my load into Yukiko as her pussy squeezed me for all I was worth. Yukiko had been clutching my pinky the whole time. Thank you for that introduction. Pale moonlight bathed us as we slept together.
Nah.
The two of us spoke practically in unison. I caressed Yukiko's hair as she gazed up at me. I'd finally decided to take the plunge, but was chickening out now that I knew she had something to say as well. Still, I knew I'd have to speak up eventually. I reached for a bag by my pillow and took out a small package. Then I placed it in her hand. Yukiko blinked with surprise, yet there was no hiding the expectation in her eyes. Ugh, how embarrassing. Excuse me. Yukiko opened the package with her dainty fingers. She gasped when she saw what was inside. I put my hand over the ring as I mustered all my courage to utter those fateful words. Yukiko looked up at me. A lone tear trailed down her cheek and plopped onto my chest. Let's go! The two of us snuggled together as I slipped the ring onto her left ring finger. And yet, Yukiko held out her hand to the moonlight and stared lovingly at it. Yukiko took my hand and guided it to her stomach. I would say, let's go, but, knowing what happens might not be appropriate. Yukiko sounded rather miffed. Then, right beneath my hand was... Yukiko smiled.
今日病院に行ってきたの。そしたらおめでたですよって担当の六式先生が。
If only I'd figured out the truth about him sooner. Was he the killer? Yukiko looked up at me as I slipped my button-down shirt on.
なんだよ。
なんでもないわよ。
She kept grinning impishly.
今日も忙しいの？
そうだな。もしかしたら泊まりになるかもしれない。
そっか。
Yukiko got up and donned a jacket.
ゆかりの面倒を見ておいてもらえるか。
え、いいわよ。あ、ネクタイ曲がってる。
Yukiko reached for my chin.
これでよしと。
ありがとな。それじゃ。
いってらっしゃい、レイジ。あ、こんなところにあったのね。
Yukiko produced a small box while checking the closet.
何か見つかったのか？
I stopped organizing my books and turned to her.
ええ、九州で発掘作業した時に見つかった石器のかけらが出てきたのよ。
なんでそんなのがうちにあるんだ？
忘れたの？レイジが欲しいって言ったからあげたんじゃない。
Yukiko was pouting.
そうだったか？
どうしてそういうこと忘れるかな？
Yukiko opened the box. Inside was a small obsidian chunk wrapped in cotton.
ああ、思い出した。そういや、そんなことも言ったな。
やっと思い出した？
なあ、こういうのって勝手に所持するのは違法なんじゃないのか？
違法だったらどうするの？おまわりさん。
まあ、もう時効だろうな。
魚住くんだったらどう言うと思う？
あいつだったら元のところに埋めてこいって言うだろうな。
そうかもしれないわね。ほんと同じように警察官になったのに全然同じじゃないわよね。
当たり前だ。あんな融通が利かないのと一緒にされてたまるか。
昔はみんなでバカなことばかりしてたのにね。懐かしいな。ねえ。
My reverie was interrupted by Yukiko's voice.
なんだ。眠れないのか？
ええ。
Yukiko gripped my hand.
この子の名前考えてくれた？
I placed my hand on her stomach. The heat was palpable even through her clothes.
男か女かも分かっていないだろう。まだ決められないさ。
両方考えてよ。ね？
そう言われてもな。まだ何の実感もないからな。
Yukiko pinched my hand.
ちゃんと考えてよ。私だって実感がないんだから。
でもここに。
私が生まれた時のこと話したわよね。
Her voice grew as transient as the wind.
ああ。
Yukiko's birth had apparently been exceptionally difficult. As a result, her mother died in labor, while Yukiko herself had been born so early that she towed the line between life and death for a while.
私は大丈夫かな？
Hard as she tried to hide it, I could hear the hints of deep-seated terror in her voice.
大丈夫だよ。
I hugged her and ruffled her hair.
俺がついているから何も心配するな。
レイジ。
俺を信じろ。二人で幸せになろ
う。うん。ありがとう。元気出たよ。
Yukiko gripped my hand. I gently squeezed back to feel the ring on her left hand. It wasn't long until March arrived. The death toll had reached 5, so the police were desperate to find whatever clues they could on this elusive serial killer. All the victims had been pregnant. Also, some digging had revealed that every last one of them had expressed anxiety over their upcoming births. They'd all been women who were prostitutes, unmarried, or poor. Basically, those who'd considered abortions over bringing a child into an environment where they couldn't provide for it. We figured we were dealing with a religious zealot based on the fact that the bodies were always crucified, so we investigated all the faithful in the city from A to Z, only to end up empty-handed. And then, in the middle of March, Yukiko went missing. I couldn't believe it. The very idea that Yukiko would have considered an abortion sounded preposterous to me. After all, we'd sworn we'd build a happy family together. However, I also recalled how Yukiko had once confided her fears about ending up like her mother to me. Even so, I refused to entertain the possibility. She still never could have considered abortion. She just couldn't have. Thus, I looked for the doctor who'd been taking care of Yukiko. However, I failed to find him. Dr. Makoto Rokushiki was a so-called midwife who didn't own his own practice. What's more, he was an unlicensed doctor who wasn't even registered as a midwife, a back-alley doctor in all but name. However, his skills were top-notch, so he'd worked at many major hospitals. There were many doctors like that in the chaos following the war, so no one so much as batted an eye about his credentials. The police swiftly issued a nationwide APB for Makoto Rokushiki. They quickly concluded that he was behind all the other serial killings as well. But for all the paperwork we rummaged through, we couldn't find a single thing on him. He didn't have a family register, much less a resume or even a mugshot. All we had to go on was his name. And on the morning of March 17th, 1950, a tiny package was delivered to my house. In it was Yukiko's left hand clutching a lily. The silver ring was still on her finger, shining dimly. Jesus. Yukiko was found by the end of the day. But I didn't recognize it was her right away. Jesus. We discovered a body crucified at a drainage canal, missing its left hand and head. Motherfucker. Yeah, that would fuck somebody up pretty fucking badly, now wouldn't it? Toko and I trudged from Yukiko's grave to Inokashita Park in absolute silence. Even the usual chatty Toko was just quietly walking ahead of me. I matched my pace with hers, trailing lightly behind her steps.
後悔してる？
何を？
私にユキコさんについて話をしたこと。
なぜそう思う？
だって時坂さん、悲しそうな顔しているから。
Toko turned back to me.
寂しいの？
もう6年も経ったんだから。
I cut myself short, drifting off into thought. How many times had she asked me that by this point?
いや、寂しかったのだろうな。
寂しかった？
寂しさを覚えないようにしていた。というのが正しいのかもしれない。
私が思い出させちゃったの？
いや、トウコが思い出させてくれたんだ。
え？
目を背けていても起きてしまったことは何も変わりはしないんだ。それどころかとても大切なものまで見失ってしまう。
Right. These two incidents truly do share a lot of similarities.
やっぱり時坂さんは強いな。私は大切なことからいつも目をそらしてばかりだから。
Toko looked up.
前にも言ったでしょ。時坂さんと私たちは同じなんだって。
Her voice rang like a melodious bell.
好きとか嫌いとかそういう感情じゃないんだ。私は多分誰からも愛されていないのだと思うんだ。だから好きとか嫌いとかそういうのがしっくりこないんだよね。
トウコ？
そう、しっくりこないんだ。
Toko quietly sat on a bench.
意味は分かっているつもりなんだけれどね。私が時坂さんに抱いている感情はそういった言葉じゃ表せないものなんだ。
She looked into my eyes.
ただこれだけははっきりしているんだ。私にとって時坂さんは必要な存在だから。
I sat down next to her.
だって私たちは同じだから。同じだから足りないものをつなぎ合わせればきっと。
Then, before I even knew what I was doing, I took Toko into my arms, cutting off everything else she was going to say.
君が誰からも愛されていないなんてことはない。
時坂さんは私を愛してはならないんだ。私はそんなもの
求めちゃいない。
Toko was being as stubborn as ever.
好きか嫌いかの二択ならばきっと好きなんだと思うよ。でもそれでも愛なんていう曖昧模糊な存在を介在させてはならないんだ。私たちは弱虫だから。私たちは弱虫だから。
Toko touched my cheek. Whoa! What the fuck? Sleep with Toko or don't? That's okay. What? Save? That is a very fucking. Oh fuck! Sleep with Toko or don't sleep with her. That is so drastic. Like, we're sitting here talking about, oh yeah, my fucking pregnant wife was beheaded and had her arm cut off and was then crucified. To, oh yeah, let me sleep with this high school girl. Huh. Huh. So, fuck. I'm tempted to say sleep with her purely because of the fact that I feel like that's what the game is wanting me to do. Or maybe it isn't. I don't know. Because, you know, obviously at the same time, I don't know. It's like one of these things where it feels, I mean, it's objectively predatory, right? Like, hey, here's this high school girl who's talking about, oh, I want you to find my true self. Nobody loves me. I feel lonely. I don't, I don't feel things like or dislike. And so it feels like one of those situations where it's like, oh, the only way I can get through to her that I love her is by sleeping with her, right? But then it's like, is that actually the right thing to do? I feel like that is extremely manipulative, and that's but then at the same time, it's like, okay, don't sleep with her. You are kind of going along with what she says, right? Like, oh, well, we can't let something as vague as love get in between us because we're both weaklings, is what she said. So, I hate to do it to you, but we're saving this for the next episode, okay? I will try to have it out earlier, just so you guys aren't like waiting a super long time. Because I don't want to do that. I'm not that mean, okay? Leaving off on such a huge cliffhanger. But I do want some time to process this not only just to process it myself, but I think depending on which answer we choose, we are going to go down an objective, like, stray and path either way, right? Like, this is clearly, I feel like, a very decisive moment. So we're going to save that for the next episode. Let me know what you guys think I should pick in the comment section, because again, I feel like for me, I would pick the sleep with her option just out of the fact that I feel like we're going to get more interesting story from it. But I want to see what you guys think. So for one, if you've made it to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. You guys are awesome. For two, yeah, no, let me know in the comments which option you guys think I should pick. So, I mean, again, I've voiced my own opinion, but obviously there's two different routes you can kind of take. There's two different kind of thought processes that I'm taking on this, at least. One is, realistically and morally speaking, no, I'm not going to sleep with her. For the reasons I voiced earlier about it being a very manipulative kind of thing to do. Especially when it's like, yeah, I just got done talking about my fucking murdered wife, and now I'm going to go sleep with a fucking high schooler. Like, that... that's a little bit questionable. So I'm completely understanding that. I feel like this is kind of a thing where it's like, I feel like I have to satiate myself with her, right? Like, like, oh, somehow Toko is going to take the place of Yukiko. And, you know, but I'm, you know, that, like, that's what I really want, but then I'm just gonna pass it off in the guise of, oh no, but I'm just doing this because I want to show you that, you know, there are people that love you and that I'm one of them, right? So that's why I feel it's very toxic and manipulative to both sides, right? Like, this isn't just like, oh, it's obviously harmful to her, but I feel like it's also harmful to Reiji as well, to kind of fall into that. So that's kind of my thinking on it, but again, we'll come back to this on the next episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like on the video and tell me in the comment section below what you'd like to see me play next. If you enjoyed this video or any other videos or series on my channel, then I highly recommend that you hit the subscribe button and turn on post notifications so you can be notified when a new one of those videos comes out. Anyways, that's it from me, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.